And welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Oklahoma City. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen. It is the semifinals. On the right-hand side of your screen, we have Timothy Thomason, and on the left, Pierre Mondon. There's an N at the end of his name, just so you know. Here's a
Timothy is Timothy, not Ty.
Yep, maybe he goes by Timothy. Who knows? Ty Thomason? That sounds like a cool name. All right, Voyaging Satyr is now, well, it's actually going to make all different types of mana here. In all different colors, at least, thanks to that Nylea's presence. And a much more aggressive start on the other side of the table with a Wingsteed rider for Timothy Thompson.
Yeah, and Pierre can't be very happy with this start. He's missing a third land drop here. His opponent already up to 4 lands, attacking him for 2 a turn in the air. You know, casting utility creatures that cost 4 mana, expensive utility creatures. Now, drawing the third land here with that Nylea's presence, he's going to be able to cast basically anything, but...
I think he's going to cast another Nylea's presence, maybe. Oh, no, he's got a Pharika's Cure. Good timing on that. So let's just take that thing out before it becomes troublesome in any way here. And now here's a Nylea's presence as well. Maybe a land? All right, he did draw a land, so he's going to be hitting land drops for next turn. And let's see nice. What Timothy Thomason can come up with to try to reapply pressure. Because that creature is not going to apply a ton. What do you see? What's going on?
Well, he can use Observant Alcia as
really?
Yeah,
to make it attack and still be able to use it? Mm-hmm. Love it.
I also love it.
So, do you predict an upkeep activation of this just to keep him off of lands?
Yes.
Yeah. Got to do it.
Absolutely have to.
And that's exactly what happens. So, Timothy says, I'll tap one of your, air quotes, lands. And even though there's a lot of permanents down in that land area, that's just three lands. There's 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's it going to be for Pierre? Okay. What do you think about that, Jake? Start digging back a little here?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like he's just trying to establish some sort of mana advantage. He's not really under a lot of pressure.
Mm-mm.
And, I mean, that Acolyte does a lot of work with those Nylea's presences in play. Right now it taps for 4 green mana. Unfortunately for him, it will be tapped down during his upkeep, basically forever, but... I mean, it's going to force his opponent to do that, though. Well, that's a real card.
Wow, just talking about that card a minute ago, that is Elspeth, and instantly goes up to 5 loyalty, makes 3 creatures, and Pierre deliberately moves the dice, picks up Elspeth, and he is not going to like what he sees here. Elspeth, Sun's Champion, take a long look at that one. The first ability is the most important.
It is. It combos pretty nicely with the last ability also.
It does indeed. I remember seeing people thinking that last ability was a little bit underwhelming for an ultimate, but then they realized that the only time you do it is when you're going to win that turn anyway. So.
Yeah. And it's pretty easy to win with that last ability when the +1 ability makes 3 guys.
That's right.
So every single +1 you've done with the Elspeth before you ultimate it represents 9 damage with that ultimate. that's
in the air.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, not bad.
Not underwhelming to me.
Right. Agree. All right, so let's see what Pierre can come up with here. He's tapping for mana. That's going to tap for 2.
It's going to tap for 4.
4, thank you. Yes, 4 mana, and there's the 5th. I forgot about those Nylea's presences down there.
Yeah.
And that looks like a Whip of Erebos? No. What was it?
It was a
not
Lash
whip,
of the Whip.
Lash of the Whip, I mean.
Yep. Whip of Erebos is a pretty good card.
That was definitely not Whip of Erebos.
Whip of Erebos not quite as good as Elspeth, Sun's champion, though.
That's true.
We can just leave Elspeth, Sun's champion on the side of the screen there, just forever. It made me very happy.
It is
I love that card a lot.
sweet-looking Magic card, that's
Elspeth
for sure.
is, probably my favorite character in Magic, even though I'm a TMS. If they made an Elspeth the Mind Sculptor, I'd be in heaven,
I'm going to Johnny Vengeance.
You're a Johnny Vengeance kind of guy?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Planeswalkers of all time.
Yeah, that's my number one.
It's a pretty awesome one. I like the non-promo art, like the original
me
set
too.
art, non-promo. It's so good.
One of the first foils I ever opened was that card.
It's a pretty sweet one.
It's sweet. All right. Pierre will now continue by playing, is that
It's a Disciple of Phoenix.
a Disciple of Phoenix? A little bit late to the party here.
Yeah. I mean, his opponent is going to reveal 2 cards that are not Elspeth.
One of them, and they're both kind of nothing, too. It's a Traveling Philosopher and a Plains. Philosopher hits the bin. But all that really matters right now is Elspeth, especially considering that Pierre hasn't been able to put up anything that can really interact in any meaningful way with Elspeth. I mean, he put up a 1-3, and before that a 1-4, and before that a 1-2. He needs some huge trampling, hasty, flying something, and he's nowhere near it. Jeez.
That's a pretty good one, too, huh?
It is indeed. Heliod's Emissary is going to allow a pretty sweet attack here. That's 8 damage that is all going to hit Pierre, and it has just gone horribly awry for him. I mean, just that, I'll say it by itself with the Heliod's Emissary is pretty sweet, but he's got Elspeth with a million tokens to back it up, too. All right, little adjustment there. That looks right.
It's so rough. He Disciple of Phoenix his opponent, and his opponent has a 7th land and a bear, and he's like, fine, I'll take your bear. And then his opponent's just like, oh, I drew a 7-drop.
Right.
I already have an Elspeth in play.
Also does it the turn after he plays
Continues
Elspeth.
curving out after playing Elspeth.
So brutal.
Yeah. It's awesome, though.
It is awesome.
It's pretty sweet to see the most powerful cards and what they're capable of.
Oh, I love it. I know everybody at home does too. All the Timmies are, yeah.
They're all like, Elspeth.
Play bigger spells. Pierre's deep in the tank here, but man, it's going to take a work of genius to get him out of this mess. Now, this is game 1, so even if Pierre were to lose, he is not out of this thing yet. We're in the semifinals here in Oklahoma City. Whoever wins this will be in the finals. No great options, I'm assuming. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, he has access to a ton of mana,
He does.
but it's pretty rough because it's an Elspeth,
It's an Elspeth. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. He tapped his mana, tapped the next one, and then moved that smoothly into the scoop phase where he conceded.
Why am I showing my opponent anything?
Yeah, he's not going to be able to come back from that board state, unfortunately. So Pierre is going to lose the first game to Timothy Thomason. But he's still in this. He knows that his opponent has Elspeth. He can try to keep the ground clear and make sure that, maybe try to time that Disciple of Phoenix or something. I mean, the fact is there's not a whole lot you can do. You got to look something to keep you happy in between here. Lifetime Grand Prix top 8s. Shuhei Nakamura, he just actually walked by the coverage booth, and he was 1 position on the standings away from his 23rd Grand Prix top 8. He finished 9th.
Yeah, hot on the heels of Olivier Rouel. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 1.5 to 2 years, Shuhei overtook Olivier.
I wouldn't either. Not at the pace that he plays. Looking down the list a little bit, you see some of the great names of Magic. A lot of Hall of Famers there too. Ben Stark, he's here. He's in the building. had some interesting chats with him.
Yeah, we actually had a good opportunity to talk to him before we started covering the top 8 matches.
Yeah.
And he and I have very different takes on the format.
Yes, you do.
Almost extreme different takes. And I know he's a much better drafter than I am.
So what's going to happen here? Maybe you're both right. Maybe you're both.
No. I'm definitely going to take his advice. I mean, I'm all for believing in yourself and believing in your own strategy. But if you're a chess player and Bobby Fischer tells you there's something you're doing wrong, then you're not going to say no, I'm doing it right and continue doing it the way you're doing it. I think I need to adapt and be more malleable, have more options.
All right. Well, good timing there. Right when we come back to the match, we see John Pennick pick up the first game against Tyler Brandstetter. So both of our semifinal matches have one game down. Again,
pretty
we're going to take
game
them into
ones
lifetimes. Yeah, those were pretty quick, and we have seen that. I mean, I'm not ready to come out and say, oh, this is just a fast format. I think that it varies quite a bit. I think that there are fast decks in the format, though.
Yeah.
And there is that element, I think, that you get sometimes when you have things like Monstrous and Bestow, where somebody creates a threat that is so overwhelming that if the other person doesn't have that answer and have it quickly, the game ends. It's like, well, those two cards together, I cannot beat. And then that's it. The game's over. I think that how you use your removal is going to be really important as we move forward in the format. And I think that if you try to burn out your removal early and don't have anything for when your opponent goes for their really, really big play, you could be in some pretty big trouble.
I mean, I think the format was kind of built to help people in that regard because the removal is all really expensive. It's it's not a format where we have access to things like Doomblade or
all right, so Pierre down a game. He lost to Timothy Thomason and his new friend, Elspeth. He goes by Ty? Great. All right, he goes by Ty Thomason, so we'll call him Ty.
Okay.
Yep. So we've actually got a Ty and a Tyler.
Oh, man.
In the top 8 here.
Multiple ties.
But there will be no ties in this match. One person will continue to the finals.
It's true. It could just be the match that never ends. Every single game just ends with like an earthquake for 21. Both people die.
Forever.
Imagine that, the Grand Prix that lasts forever.
I can imagine it. I can't
like
say I love the idea. Yeah.
You have?
I think one weekend is a good time frame for a Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, I love Grand Prix.
Yeah, they're great. All right, here is a 1-drop from Ty. Yeah, that one doesn't hit too hard, but it's certainly a fine card to have on the early turns of the game.
So it thins out that deck.
Mm-hmm. Helps ensure that you keep hitting your land drops, fixes your mana a little bit. Does cost you some tempo, but that turn 1 play, that costs you essentially nothing.
I mean, that's one less card in your deck that's not Elspeth.
Yeah. Is that how you think of things?
Yes, it really is.
What is wrong with you? And it's also true.
Yeah, no, that's like it increases the chance of by like 3% of drawing a card that makes you win the game like 98% of the time. Like if you're casting it on turn 6 anyway.
All right, Traveling Philosopher. Going to dish out some knowledge here, drop Pierre down to 18, and the follow-up pay is a Baleful Eidolon. Not a super aggressive start here, but this is an Elspeth-friendly start. Ooh, Boon Satyr on end step, though it's not really going to do much here, unless he wants to trade it. Boon Satyr has been very powerful anytime anybody's had it in limited throughout the course of the weekend. We've seen it actually quite a bit. It's been very, very strong.
It's been a really good card. I'd say as far as green rares go, it's probably been the second most effective that we've seen over the course.
What was the other one?
Weekend. Probably Arbor Colossus. We've seen Arbor Colossus do a lot of really great things.
That's true. Absolutely. I would put it ahead for sure. Fade into Antiquity, though, is going to take out the Baleful Eidolon and allow an attack for 4 from Pierre.
So Ty, going to crack that Traveler's Amulet, search his library for a Plains right there, increasing his chance of drawing an Elspeth by roughly 3.5%.
All right.
And that's pretty relevant, you know?
I'll take it.
Hey, any increased chance of drawing Elspeth is a good thing.
Ifara's Warden again. Unfortunately, it really doesn't do much here. It taps to tap a target creature with power 3 or less, but that Boon Satyr safely out of that range.
Pierre does have a few cards in hand that are 3-power guys, though, so...
So it might actually do some work later.
Yeah, like, there we go.
All right. Yeah, that one can keep him off of a bunch of mana. That thing taps for 3 right now. All right, there's land drop number 5. And Disciple of Phoenix here is going to hit for 2. So it's going to get something every single time, but Pierre gets to decide which 2 cards, and it's going to be the best of those 2 cards that's going to hit the bin. So he's got a lot of flexibility here, really. Disciple has been a really impressive card to me.
Me too.
But it, sometimes it always hits something, basically, which is great. I guess if your opponent's top decking, it doesn't. But for the most part, it hits something.
I find that it's really good with the other colors emissaries because you want to bestow on it something that's pretty powerful. That way you get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like that.
It's not quite a full 2-for-1 because you just get the 1/3 body, but that is definitely relevant because chump blocking comes up so often in this format.
That's right. All right, so Ty passes the turn, and on upkeep, he's going to tap the mana producer there. Just going to try to keep Pierre off of his big mana spells. And incidentally, Ty also does get to see another card from Pierre thanks to that Disciple. He doesn't get discarded, but just the knowledge that it's there is also a small benefit that gets overlooked a few times, sometimes too. He's going to tap it for mana. Nope, just going to tap it. So it gets tapped down. He says sure. He was really considering playing something on his upkeep there, I think, but decided not to. Here's 4 mana.
I think he has... he must have an instant, maybe something that costs 5. Rescue from the Underworld, right?
He does have that. What was that he played there, though?
Leaf Crown Dryad.
Ah, okay.
It's a pretty good one.
That seems awesome here. It's going to allow him another profitable attack. Ooh. Was that Mogus's Marauder?
Yes, that's a very good one.
Yeah, right now it's not going to do a ton. Pierre is sitting at 18, so he's not down into the dirty range yet where that thing can just come out of nowhere. We saw that earlier in the weekend. Mogus's Marauder just stole a game.
Yeah.
Left the opponent dumbfounded. It was brutal. All right, so Ty's going to start the attacks here.
Yeah, so coming in for another 3 damage here, putting Pierre down to 15. Still have to worry about that 6-power guy on the other side of the table. That's pretty surprising to me that he's going to go ahead and pass the turn here.
And
I mean, I know he doesn't want to get attacked by that Dryad if he's going to use the Lash of the Whip, but I mean, it's a little bit dangerous.
I mean, the good news about the Lash, though, is that it does do the -4/-4 even if the creature survives. I mean, it's a small consolation, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to go ahead and Lash the Whip this. But Pierre can just respond by using Rescue the Underworld.
Which he does exactly that.
And then what ends up happening is the Boon Satyr is going to die. The Leaf Crown Dryad comes into play. And then at the beginning of Tim's next turn, Pierre is going to get a Boon Satyr, and he's also going to get his Gorgon, which is pretty huge because he can monstrous that Gorgon during his upkeep when Tim tries to tap down his guy.
Well, I think he needs double black for the Gorgon, right?
Oh, yes. This guy doesn't untap
and
a land.
Also, it's going to be on Pierre's upkeep that he gets it back. But yeah, he could still float. You're right.
Yeah.
But it's on Pierre's, not on his opponent's turn.
Yep.
But still, it's still fine, though, right?
Yeah, it's still very good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's still 2 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like his opponent used like a lash of the whip, and he used to rescue the underworld, and the end result is him getting 2 creatures.
Yes, and
So,
nothing dead from Lash of the Whip.
He ends up plus 2 cards. So it's actually kind of better. Well, no. He lost the initial Boon Satyr, so yeah, he's up 1 card.
1 card.
So it is a 2-for-1, not a 3-for-1.
That gets exiled, though, right? The rescue from the underworld. I think it gets exiled as part of the resolution there.
For the sake of the Spellhite Chimeras that are going to be played. I mean, it should be exiled. You're right.
You just don't want to. There's some degenerate things that happen if you don't. All right. It's all the way at the very end. So exiled. All right. Carry on, gentlemen. Flesh Mad Steed.
Flesh Mad Steed comes down. Not the greatest of cards here. Is going to allow him to crack in for a whole bunch of damage, though.
Yeah, that Mogus's Marauder just enabled a nice hit here.
And it gave that Flesh Mad Steed haste, too.
Mm-hmm.
Fast Flesh Mad Steed.
Pennock won his match. He's in the finals.
Nice Dr. Pennock all the way through to the finals.
We watched him draft his deck, and we're going to get a chance to see it and see if it can finish off this GP and 3-0 this draft. But for now, we are going to figure out who he is playing against. It's either going to be Ty Thomason on the right side of your screen, who's at 8, or Pierre Mondon, who's also at 8. All right, Nessian Courser, sure. Voyaging Satyr, all right. And we have a fully developed board here, kids.
This is
Yep.
This is a board.
This is where Ty draws Elspeth and just calls it a game.
That would be pretty good.
It's plan A.
That is plan A.
I'm open to other options, but
I mean, he even thinned his deck with the Traveler's Amulet. This is ridiculous.
How does he not
have
draw
the
it yet? All right, Traveling Philosopher number 2. I wonder if they get into a fight.
Philosophizing with
they
different
start
opinions.
Arguing,
you know?
Yeah, it's a debate. But Pierre Mondon, he is now surveying the scene. He's got 5 creatures, 6 creatures. He just got another one because he had so many they were actually off the screen. And he's facing down 6 creatures from Ty Thomason as well. And this doesn't happen too often, but it does happen occasionally. Pierre has gone to use the restroom real quick, and there he is. Pierre, no, he's not there.
The judge is
Pierre,
looking for
everybody?
him. That's funny.
That was great. Now this is interesting actually because Ty there, you get a look at him in his blue cap. He gets a chance to kind of take in the scene here a little bit, you know?
I don't know if that's an advantage.
Really?
Getting a chance to sink it all in?
Well, no, I'm saying, like, look at this board. This is a complex, crazy board, and getting a chance to sort of say, all right, what if he attacks with this, that, this, and this? Okay, then I could block here. No, that's not really good. You know, sometimes people get rushed a little or don't think things through enough, and he's going to be kind of forced to as he's going to be sitting here for a minute while Pierre runs off to take care of business. So,
see, my experience with these types of situations.
Yeah.
When my opponent is just, having an opportunity to just like stare at the board forever, or when, one player leaves to go to the bathroom, it's kind of like the mathematician staring at the impossible math problem. Like you kind of
you don't actually get anywhere.
You like swirl into this like delirious madness, and then you just end up killing yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I guess it could go either way. All right, still only 1 black mana source here, I believe, for Pierre, so he can't fire off that Keepsake Gorgon. That looks like yet another creature. Is it another
you lose
Satyr?
the rhythm. That's what I was trying to say. Like it's all about, you can't stop the song and then start dancing again right when it starts up again. You need to like get back into the groove of it,
That's fair. All right, Voyaging Satyr, not going to do a whole lot at this point in the game for Pierre, but Ty draws his card, sets down his hand, and surveys the scene once again. On end step, he tapped down the Nessian Courser, and he's trying to see if he has an attack here, but it feels like it's unlikely that he would, right? I mean, he doesn't have any evasive threats, and generally speaking, just even if you think in big picture terms, the defending player in Magic tends to have the advantage over the attacker because he gets to decide after everything's done where he's going to put his blocks.
Yeah.
Double blocking's an option.
Yeah, who fights who is the defender's choice.
Yes, and that is a huge advantage. And that's just a general thing. If you just look at this board, in addition, it's just he doesn't have any attacks here, right? I mean, that Keepsake Gorgon's just going to outright eat something. The Voyaging Satyrs, though, don't block very well, so that is kind of interesting. But the Boon Satyr can block, but the problem with the attack would be that Tim is going to have a really hard time actually threatening lethal, so it's going to give Pierre room to block kind of however he wants. Now, if Ty has a combat trick, though, that changes everything. Oh, he can tap down the Keepsake Gorgon. I forgot about that. Interestingly, he attacked first and then tapped it down. So trigger on the stack. All right, well, if you take that Keepsake Gorgon out of the equation here, all of a sudden this attack gets a lot better. 1/2 and a 1/2 are two of the creatures for Pierre here, and a 2 toughness Boon Satyr that I think Tim would be perfectly happy trading with. He just has to be very careful because he's, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. He's only attacking for 8 here. And Pierre's at 8, so he could just chump block, right?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Or is he repping a trick? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not attacking with the 1 power guy, then he might be trying to get his opponent to not block 2 of the guys and then have like a Dauntless Onslaught for the win.
Yeah, Dauntless Onslaught would change everything here.
Exactly. So it feels like a Dauntless Onslaught because he's attacking with even powered guys. You know, his opponent's at an even life total.
By the way, that was a Satyr Hedonist down on the bottom, not a second Voyaging Satyr. So that also changes things significantly. Wow, he must have a trick because this attack is kind of crazy. Pierre is still trying to figure out how he wants to block. Well, don't block that Flesh Mad Steed. That thing has a downside, right?
Well, it's black, and Grey Merchant of Asphodel is a black card.
Great point.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a minor downside anyway, so yeah, the devotion count changing definitely takes precedent over that.
Definitely. So, I mean, things aren't really dying before combat in this match.
And Pierre could easily be thinking right now about playing around Grey Merchant. Like, let's say Ty draws his card and he's like, oh, Grey Merchant, what can I do here?
Yeah.
You know, it could be a combat trick. It could be a Grey Merchant. There's a whole lot of different things going on here. And remember, Pierre also has to try to manage, you know, a potential crackback for lethal here if he can manage it. All right, no, all these things are just going to trade. That trades, that bounces. And we just had a bit of a clear out there. So there was no trick. And he wasn't trying to get tricky with a Grey Merchant. And Pierre only takes 2 on the exchange. I don't know. I feel like Pierre probably isn't too bummed out about that attack, right? I mean, it gave him a lot of
awesome
options.
Attack for him. He gets to, like, his swing back is lethal on board, and he has the Gorgon in play, so
he still needs to find that second black mana source, but there's a sip of Hemlock to kill the Boon Satyr. It's 4/2. And so this could have been part of the plan if Ty thought that he could get in for a total of 6, leaving Pierre at 2 and then sip him to death here, but that didn't work out. So what is Pierre thinking about here? Looks like he's reaching. Oh, he can tap some mana. He can tap 2 extra with that. If he has something to do with it. I think he's actually just doing math for next turn, but. All right, he's got 5 mana floating, I believe he said. Maybe 6. Oh, and there's a Voyaging Satyr. Jeez, you got to remind me of this stuff. I forgot he had that available. So he can just fire off that Keepsake Organ right now.
Yeah, and then attack for lethal. That's why it's a little bit confusing. Because I was just on board.
Well.
See? So, the Delirious Madness, Delirious Swirling Madness, and then kill yourself?
Holy crap.
Yeah, dude.
Whoa. Mind blown. All right, so Pierre Mondon finishes off Ty Thomason and equalizes here. We're going to get a game 3 to see who makes it to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that was an extremely confusing board.
It was. We have evidence of that.
So the winner of this match will be making it to the finals to face off against Dr. John Pennick himself.
Asterisk, not actually a doctor.
I don't know. Maybe he is.
That's true. I don't actually know.
We don't actually know.
Rashad said he's a doctor like Dr. Pepper's a doctor. Maybe Dr. Pepper was a real doctor. Pro Tour Theros will be next weekend, October 11th through 13th, Standard, and then Theros Draft. Please do join us. We're going to be in Dublin bringing you all the action live. Twitch.tv/magic. You can also check out dailymtg.com for written coverage. Plus, there's a link in there for the video coverage. Quick reminder, too, about this tournament. There's also written coverage for this tournament, including some cool features, some early information about the Theros limited format that you can find on dailymtg.com under the GP Oklahoma City coverage page. Nate Price typing away over there. I can see him over in the corner along with Mike Rosenberg. Yep, and also Corbin Hustler is here helping out. So thanks to those guys.
That's
Upcoming webcasts. Just mentioned PT Theros. And after that, Grand Prix Louisville, Standard, next weekend.
Be back.
Me and you will be here. I don't know if we'll be the same people.
We maybe changed people.
Yeah. You'll be a 2-time Pro Tour champion, most likely, right? I'm just playing the numbers here.
No, let's.
And I'll be tired.
Let's not.
You don't want me to jinx you on camera?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of, talking about the no-hitter during the game.
What's done is done. But we're not playing. I'm predicting a no-hitter. I'll tell you what, when we're there, I will not come up and be like, wow, 11-0, huh? You got this thing locked up. I will not do that.
Please, just... everybody's saying I'm going to win this whole weekend. I understand that everybody's just trying to be nice, but... it's really just guaranteeing that there's no chance I win a match.
Well, I mean, if we're playing the numbers, Grand Prix Antwerp is Modern. The following weekend, our European coverage team is going to be all over that. I can't wait to watch it. Modern, love that format. GP Valencia is Theros Limited. A couple weeks after that, same thing, European team, and then we're going to be back here for Grand Prix Washington, D.C. Legacy.
That's an exciting one.
That's a cool format. Legacy, if you haven't seen a Legacy GP, they are something else. You will see, we had 8 different decks in Denver in the top 8. Maybe,
you want to see
7.
complicated Magic? You want to see Magic where the very best players in the world make mistakes all the time?
Yeah.
That's Legacy. It's so complicated.
Legacy is hard to commentate too, I'll say.
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly hard to commentate. Your brain just feels like it's going to melt.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is awesome. I tend to just sort of sit back and on and let it go. Grand Prix Albuquerque is Standard November 23rd and 24th, and then GP Vienna in Austria. Standard, again, covered by our European team November 30th through December 1st. And it looks like we have decks being presented, guys. This is the semifinals of Grand Prix Oklahoma City, and the winner of this is going to advance to the finals. This one game right here. So as the players look, they're asking themselves, is this the hand that's going to get me into the finals? And they've both decided that it is. Land, go, turn 1 Scorpion for Pierre. 2-drop. Not exactly a phalanx leader, but hey, it's a traveling philosopher. And Pierre's going to start off by beating down with his Edge Scorpion.
Yeah, I mean...
Ty takes it.
I think Pierre correctly recognizes that his opponent has an Elspeth in their deck, and that he needs to win before the Elspeth gets into play.
Yes, I appreciate that. Satyr Hedonist here for Pierre, and he is actually just going to trade off here. He wants to keep the board clear if he can, I think. he probably assumed that he's not going to get much better off of that hedonist.
Yeah, I mean, 1 toughness is not the best.
No.
He's seen, you know, what was passed around the draft. But yeah, there were Scholars of Atheros that were going around very late.
And that's what he plays here. That's a card that can really take over the game in the later stages. In the early stages, not quite as much, though it does its job well.
It also, you know, it's one of those cards that, you know, it's mana sink.
Yes.
In a format where you really want to be playing 18 a lot of the time.
Yep, that's true. All right, Set Scorpion gets in there for 1 more damage, bringing another notch. And there's Nylea's Presence, draws a card, and has to ship the turn back here. Let's see what Ty comes up with for his turn. This is where we start getting to the big stuff. First things first, hit you for 1. Sure.
And again, Pierre missing land drops. I
Yes.
mean, this happened to him last game also, but he ended up being able to pull it out anyway.
He's got
Let's see if
17
he
lands in the
can,
deck along with 2 Nylea's Presence, so generally speaking, he shouldn't have too many mana issues, but he's ran a little bad. There's Fleshmad Steed and another Philosopher, so it's bear. It's all bears all the time here for Ty Thomason.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And what did Pierre come up with? Did he find a land drop? He did.
That's really good for him.
It certainly is.
Expect this Acolyte to come down again.
There it is.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, that really lets him just... It already taps for 3 mana.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of mana. It lets him dump his
Absolutely.
hand really quickly.
Yeah, if he gets to untap with that thing unscathed, he can start... I mean, he's got 4 or 5 cards in hand. He can start just dumping cards on the battlefield here. Might actually only have 3 cards in hand, maybe 4.
Pierce is going to go ahead and take 2. Just going to block 1 with the Acolyte, it looks like. Pierce can say that Scorpion for something more relevant.
Unfortunately, now that's up to Ty. If he decides that he wants to tap the Scorpion, he can. All right, so here's the window. Ty has the ability now to tap down either the Scorpion or the Acolyte whenever he wants for the rest of the game, as long as that thing stays alive, the Warden. So Pierre has 1 shot to use up this mana before it'll be up to Ty whether he gets to use the mana or not. So let's see what...
Well, I mean, interestingly, Pierre may be able to...
Oh, there we go. Farika's Cure.
Cast something like a Gorgon, in which case he'd be able to use the mana at instant speed.
Okay.
Because we know he has that in his deck.
That's true. Well, he decided just to take that thing down, Warden down, gain a couple of life back here. Interestingly, he's got another Nylea's Presence. He can cast it, and it only cost him virtually 1 mana, because he can just tap that mana from his Acolyte back again. It's kind of going off here.
Yeah, but he's like going off and not really doing anything with going off. I mean...
You wanted him to just like slam an ass
I don't know if I
Pierre or
love the Cure. Like, I think I would have just, you know, cast my Gorgon, which I think he has in his hand. Keepsake Gorgon.
Okay. He seemed definitely concerned there. All right, so he plays an Nessian Courser.
Yep.
And then is he going to play the Presence afterwards? Kind of like just playing the Presence. You get the mana back. You can still play the Courser. And on top of it, you get to draw a card first and see what you get.
Yeah, you might draw something awesome.
Yeah, in this case, he just drew a Forest. Okay. Let's take a look now at what Ty Thomason has for this turn. He's got a Whip. He's going to take out the 3/3 here, and that's going to enable some beatdowns here.
Yeah, another 5.
Well, no, it's actually only 3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Fleshmad Steed had that trigger.
Fleshmad Steed.
Uh-huh. When a creature dies, it gets tapped.
Just
and
neighing too hard at death.
That's true. And I mean, you know, that's the thing. That happens not often, but sometimes where you're like, get your guy out of the way, take 2 less damage than I wanted you to. It is a tangible downside on that card for sure.
It's one of the reasons why I'm not really that big of a fan of that one.
Yeah, me neither. You do what you got to do. But,
sometimes you need to play. Sometimes you just need a bear.
Yeah.
You know.
But it can get kind of sketchy for sure. All right, so let's see what Pierre's got lined up here. He's tapping 3 mana. He's got a ton of mana at his disposal this turn. That taps for 4. So that's 6. He can cast basically anything in the game at this point. And there's Keepsake Gorgon and a Satyr Piper.
Ooh, that's nice actually here, right? I mean, the Piper can Tim can't attack right now, and the Piper can make things block after the Gorgon gets huge and destroys something else. So, like, if Tim doesn't have a play on his turn, then Pierre can use this on board that he has, and
that's actually really sweet here.
Just wreck Tim's board.
He really can because
he can just use the Gorgon to kill the Scholar.
Yes.
Fleshmane Steed will get tapped, and then he can make the make the Gorgon be blocked with the Piper, and then he'll gobble up the Philosopher.
Also, another thing he can do is he can use the Satyr Piper twice, thanks to all that mana, and make 2 of his different creatures get blocked.
Yep.
You know, if he wants. So he has a lot of options here, and they're all sweet. So Satyr Piper, you know, not a card I'm a big fan of, but it looks like Pierre has found a spot to get some real value out of it here, potentially.
Yeah, Pierre's deck looks pretty sweet. And there's that Gray Merchant of Asphodel.
All right, this is just a defensive...
defensive posture going up right now.
Yeah, he's just like, uh-oh. All right, draw a card for the turn. Is that a Disciple of Phoenix there? I don't think Ty has any cards in hand left, does he?
Doesn't look like it.
So it's not really a priority at all to get that thing on the board. In fact, you'd probably rather just hold it.
Yeah, I think he can just use the Piper.
Yeah.
He can just Gorgon Piper. You might even want to just save the Gorgon ability. I guess he doesn't really need to, because the Gorgon plus Piper or Piper plus Scorpion can deal with pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Except, of course, Elspeth. So he does just want to get his opponent dead as fast as possible.
Yes, it has now come time for Pierre to try to close this game out and limit the number of draw steps that Ty gets as we move forward here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So here it looks like he's going for the Keepsake Gorgon here, but he can also just wait to do it during combat, which is a much better time to do it when your opponent doesn't have any cards, right?
Probably.
Now Pierre's at 11. Nope, he's just going to fire it off, and that taps the Fleshmad Steed. And he says, this thing must be blocked, so that means that it's going to eat one or the other here. And he's going to attack. So the Traveling Philosopher jumps in front and just must chump block, and wow. That is just nasty. Now Ty is in Elspeth mode here, right? I mean...
And even then, that's just
sweet.
fine.
Yeah.
Elspeth just does it well, but Elspeth still does it.
Yeah.
Right?
Ty's going to start off by attacking, though, because he's like, look, these things are just going to get gobbled up anyway, so I might as well send them in. Fleshmad Steed gets in for 2. That's going to drop Pierre down to 9. What does Ty have? Nothing. He says, go. So even though he's at 20, he's way behind here. And Pierre looks like he might be in the driver's seat.
Oh, my goodness
Nylea?
gracious. It was.
Like actual Nylea here?
Yep.
All right, Disciple of Phoenix, so to clear the way, it was just a land. He probably thought that's what it was, but here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's not going to be able to activate Nylea this turn, but heck with it.
It gives this guy's trample.
Yes, it gives this guy's trample, and Death Touch plus trample is a beautiful thing. Trample into an empty board doesn't matter, but things are looking really, really good for Pierre here. Ty, draw step. Is it Elspeth? Even Elspeth doesn't do much thanks to trample, though, huh? Can he do the middle ability? That still doesn't do enough here.
Yeah, I mean,
none of his creatures are in range.
an absurd amount of mana at his disposal also to
Which-
dump into these trampling creatures.
Yeah, and is Nylea a god right now? Absolutely.
It
and
is a
that's
god.
it. Pierre Mondon is going to be in the finals. We'll keep his deck list right here, and he is going to be
That was
playing
awesome. I
against- that
really
was
like
sweet.
Pierre's deck a lot. I
It
like the way
looks
Pierre
sweet.
drafted.